What if everything you believe about reality is completely wrong? Today, I'm going to reveal the hidden secret inside the quantum field, something that will make you question everything. Stay with me for the next few minutes. Your mind will never be the same again. What if the world you move through every day, the world you touch, fear, plan, and fight your way across, is not the real world at all? What if everything you've been taught to trust as solid, logical, predictable, is nothing more than a thin layer of illusion stretched over a much deeper, unseen architecture of consciousness? Imagine, just for a second, that the life you think you're living is only the surface of a reality far more mysterious, far more responsive, and far more connected to your inner world than anyone ever dared to tell you. Because right now, in this exact moment, something inside you already knows there is more. You've felt it your entire life. That strange tension between what you're told to believe and what your intuition quietly whispers in the background. The whispers that come in moments when logic fails, when synchronicities appear out of nowhere, when your emotions shift the entire direction of your day, when repeating numbers feel like messages, and when your dreams feel more real than your waking hours. You've sensed patterns no one else seems to notice, energy moving beneath the surface of ordinary life, the subtle pull of something vast and intelligent, guiding you toward a truth you can't fully articulate yet. And maybe you've kept these sensations quiet, hidden behind a polite smile or an ordinary routine, because no one around you seemed to feel the same strange frequency vibrating underneath everything. But you're here now, hearing these words, because a deeper part of you refuses to stay asleep. You didn't stumble into this video by accident. Your consciousness brought you here, to remember what you've always known, but never had language for. Beneath every choice you think you make, beneath every emotion that rises and falls inside you, beneath every thought that sparks across your mind, there is a hidden reality, a reality woven from pure energy, pure vibration, pure frequency. This is the quantum field, the silent, invisible dimension where consciousness shapes matter, where your subconscious mind sends signals long before your physical body ever acts, where your inner state becomes the blueprint for your external world. This isn't just spirituality. It isn't just science. It's the intersection where both collapse into a single truth. You are far more powerful than the version of yourself you've been conditioned to accept. And here's the part that most people never dare to confront. Your awakening didn't start today. It started the moment you began feeling out of place inside the life you were told to live. The moment your routines felt too tight. The moment your relationships felt too shallow. The moment your emotions grew louder than your logic. The moment your dreams began pushing you towards something you couldn't name. Those weren't signs of confusion. They were signs of expansion. Signs that your awareness was stretching beyond the limits of old beliefs, pushing against the walls of a reality too small for who you are becoming. Because when your consciousness begins to rise, the world around you begins to shift. Patterns break. Coincidences intensify. People you haven't thought about in years suddenly reappear. Opportunities fall into your lap without explanation. It's not magic, and it's not luck. It's resonance. It's the quantum field rearranging itself to match the frequency you're starting to embody. And the moment you feel this happening, even subtly, something inside you wakes up. You realize you're not just moving through reality. Reality is moving through you. And as this awakening unfolds, a question begins echoing inside your mind. A question you can no longer ignore. A question you can no longer ignore. Because once you sense that reality is responding to you, you begin to wonder why the world you grew up in never reflected this truth. And that's where the first fracture in the old paradigm appears. Most people still believe reality is fixed, solid, mechanical. A world where matter is the master and consciousness is an afterthought. They trust what they can touch, measure, and explain. Even if that explanation leaves them feeling strangely hollow, they wake up every day inside the same routine, repeat the same thoughts, carry the same fears, and assume this loop is all life has to offer. They live inside a belief system that says life happens to you, not for you, or through you. But if you've ever opened your eyes in the morning with a heaviness you couldn't name, or felt a quiet distance between who you are and the life you're living, then you know something is missing from this old worldview. There's a loneliness that settles into the soul when you're taught that consciousness has no power, when your intuition is dismissed as imagination, when your emotions are treated as inconvenient chemistry instead of intelligent signals from a deeper layer of reality. That emptiness so many people feel, the sense of drifting, repeating, surviving instead of truly living, isn't a flaw in them. It's a symptom of being raised in a paradigm too small for the truth of what they are. Imagine waking up one morning and realizing the entire world you've been navigating is only the surface of a much larger structure, like discovering you've spent your entire life in the lobby of a massive building without ever exploring the upper floors. That's what happens when the first cracks appear in the illusion. Your perception widens, your awareness stretches. You begin noticing the edges of a hidden reality, a quantum field that responds to your vibration, a quantum consciousness shaping your experiences from beneath the surface. You start to sense the intelligence in your emotions, the precision of your intuition, the subtle currents of energy guiding your decisions even when you don't understand why. And the moment you question the traditional story, even gently, the old paradigm begins to crumble. Your subconscious mind, which has been absorbing programs your entire life, suddenly becomes visible. You notice how automatic your thoughts are, how repetitive your reactions, how predictable your fears. You begin to understand that the pain you've been carrying isn't a defect. It's a signal that your expansion of consciousness has already begun. Something deeper is trying to break through the reality you inherited. If this resonates with you, if this feels like the quiet truth beneath your life, let me know in the comments. Your voice matters here. Write something simple but intentional, like, I awaken, or I feel the shift. When you comment, when you like, when you subscribe, you're not just supporting a channel. You're strengthening a field of awareness we are building together. You're anchoring your energy into a community moving through the same awakening you are. And as we continue, the next part of this journey will take us even deeper into the hidden layers of perception, and nothing you see will feel the same again. And as we move deeper, the old worldview you were taught begins to feel thinner, almost transparent, because now you can sense what lies behind it. This is where the hidden truth of the quantum field begins to reveal itself, not as theory, not as philosophy, but as a living presence that has always been influencing your perception. The moment you acknowledge that reality is not fixed but responsive, something shifts inside you. Something subtle, like a vibration you had been ignoring for years, finally rising to the surface. The quantum field is not distant, mystical scenery. It is the very space your consciousness moves through every second. Imagine standing at the edge of an infinite ocean at night, the water still and glass-like. Every thought you send into that ocean is a stone breaking the surface. Every emotion is a wave expanding outward, shaping the currents that eventually come back to you as experiences. This is not metaphor. It is the closest human language can get to describing what science has been hinting at for decades. You are not observing reality. You are participating in its collapse, moment by moment, through your frequency. Your subconscious mind is the silent architect in this process. It holds the patterns that determine the quality of your vibration, the emotional signatures that signal to the field what possibilities you are aligned with. When you walk through life unaware of this, you collapse the same version of reality over and over, repeating timelines, attracting the same lessons dressed in new clothing. But when your awareness expands, when you begin to observe the truth behind the physical world, the entire structure of reality starts to shift. Science calls it the observer effect. Spirituality calls it awakening. You can call it the moment you stop being a passenger and start becoming a creator. And yes, this contradicts almost everything you were taught. That tension you feel right now, that internal conflict between what you believed and what you're beginning to perceive, is the doorway opening. It is your perception stretching beyond the limits of the old paradigm. When your frequency changes, the world can no longer reflect the same version of you. Reality adjusts. Let yourself sit with that. Let yourself feel the weight of knowing that your consciousness is not a byproduct of the brain, but the force shaping what the brain perceives. Let yourself imagine what your life could become once you learn to guide your vibration, instead of reacting to the world around you. And if something inside you is responding, a sensation, a pull, a quiet recognition, share it in the comments. Your presence in this space strengthens the energy we're building. Like this video if this truth resonates in your field, and subscribe so you remain connected to this frequency of awakening. Because the next part of this journey will take us even further into the hidden architecture of reality, and what you're about to discover may challenge everything you thought you knew about the world and about yourself. And it's in this space, where your perception begins to stretch beyond the familiar, that transformation becomes possible. Because once you understand how consciousness interacts with the quantum field, the question shifts from "does this work?" to "how do I begin using this in my own life?" That's where the real awakening happens, not in theory, but in practice. In the moment you choose awareness over autopilot, intention over habit, vibration over reaction. The truth is, transformation always begins internally. It starts in the quiet moments when you catch yourself repeating an old pattern, and, instead of falling into it, you pause. That pause is everything. It's the split second where your subconscious programming loosens its grip, where your frequency can shift, where your energy begins to reorganize itself in alignment with a new reality. Most people overlook that moment, but it is the doorway to expansion of consciousness. It is the point where the hidden reality behind your daily life begins to respond differently. Imagine someone standing right at that threshold, someone who feels trapped, confused, disconnected, yet quietly aware that something deeper is calling them. Let's call her Emily. For years, Emily lived inside a cycle she couldn't explain. The same emotional triggers, the same disappointments, the same feeling that life was moving around her rather than through her. On the outside, she functioned. She smiled, worked, kept up appearances. But on the inside, she carried a heaviness she could never articulate, a sense that her life was out of sync with something she couldn't quite identify. One night, overwhelmed by that invisible weight, she found herself asking a question she had never dared to confront. What if the world isn't holding me back? What if my own vibration is shaping everything I keep experiencing? That single question shifted her entire perception. The next morning, she didn't drastically change her life. She simply changed her awareness. She started observing her thoughts instead of believing them. She noticed how her chest tightened before certain conversations. She saw how quickly her mind moved toward fear, comparison, and self-defense. And instead of letting those patterns define her day, she breathed into them. She chose different thoughts. She softened her emotional frequency before walking into situations she once feared. It felt subtle at first, almost insignificant, but the quantum field responded immediately. People reacted to her differently. Doors she thought were closed began to open. Situations that once drained her suddenly shifted. It wasn't magic. It was resonance. Her vibration changed, and the field reorganized around that new frequency. Emily realized that the hidden reality she had sensed all along was real. Her subconscious mind had been collapsing the same version of her life for years, simply because she never questioned the patterns beneath her perception. By becoming the observer, she became the creator. And in that shift, everything changed. You may be feeling that same pull now, the subtle recognition that your frequency matters more than you ever realized, that your emotions carry intelligence, that your thoughts are not random noise, but energetic choices. And if this is resonating inside you, let it. It means your consciousness is expanding, your perception is opening, your energy is shifting into alignment with a more powerful version of yourself. If this message is awakening something in you, share it in the comments. Write "I awaken," or "I am shifting," or "I feel the field," so your intention becomes part of the energy we're building here. Like this video, if this truth vibrates within you, and subscribe to stay connected to this frequency of transformation. Because in the next part, we're going even deeper into how these internal shifts begin to rewire the external world. And once you understand that process, the reality you've been living will never feel the same again. And as these shifts begin to surface within you, something deeper starts to crystallize. A realization that feels less like learning and more like remembering. Because now you've seen the hidden mechanics behind your own perception, and you've felt the subtle intelligence of the quantum field rising to meet your awareness. You can sense, even if you can't yet explain it, that nothing in your life has ever been random. Every moment of clarity, every moment of confusion, every cycle you've repeated was part of a larger dialogue between your consciousness and the field that surrounds you. And now that you recognize this dialogue, now that you feel the vibration of it moving through you, the old version of reality cannot hold you in the same way. This is where the transformation becomes undeniable. The quiet shifts you've made internally begin to echo outward. You notice how your perception sharpens, how your intuition grows more precise, how the energy of your daily life feels different, not louder, but clearer. You start to sense which situations drain your frequency and which ones elevate it. You begin to see the connection between your emotional patterns and the outcomes you attract. And without forcing anything, without demanding change, you feel reality slowly reorganizing around a new internal state. This is the beginning of true expansion of consciousness, the stage where you no longer navigate life from habit, but from awareness. And yet, as profound as this realization is, it's only the threshold. Because understanding how the quantum field responds to you is one thing, but understanding why it sometimes mirrors your old patterns, even after awakening begins, is something else entirely. This is the moment when most people stumble. They awaken to the hidden reality, feel the surge of new energy, sense their vibration rising, but still find themselves repeating the same emotional loops. They interpret this as failure, or confusion, or spiritual regression, when in truth it is the mind's last attempt to cling to the comfort of the familiar. The subconscious resists what it cannot predict, even when the unknown is exactly what will set you free. That resistance is the greatest barrier to transformation. Not the world, not circumstances, not destiny, but the internal attachment to an identity built inside a limited model of reality. And unless you understand this final illusion, unless you see how the mind unconsciously recreates the patterns it claims to want to escape, your awakening remains only partial. You feel the truth, but you don't yet know how to step fully into it. You touch the quantum field, but you don't yet know how to inhabit it. This is why the next step is so important. Because there is one mistake almost everyone makes when they begin this journey. One misconception that quietly collapses their frequency back into old timelines. One misunderstanding that keeps their awakening fragmented instead of complete. And once you recognize this mistake, once you see how it has shaped your perception of reality, without you ever realizing it, everything shifts. Your subconscious begins to release its grip. Your vibration rises without resistance. Your energy aligns with a version of reality that has been waiting for you to claim it. In the next chapter, I'm going to show you exactly what that mistake is. I'm going to reveal the single illusion that keeps most people trapped inside a narrow dimension of experience, even after they begin awakening. And when you see it clearly, the weight you've been carrying, the doubt, the heaviness, the repetition, will begin to fall away. A new level of perception will open, and the hidden architecture of the quantum field will make itself visible in ways you've never experienced before. Before we step into that revelation, I want to hear from you. If something in this message resonated with your inner world, if you feel your energy shifting or your awareness expanding, share it in the comments. Anchor your intention with a phrase like, "I awaken," "I see beyond," or "I am expanding." Your words amplify the frequency of this community. Your presence strengthens the field we are building together. Like the video if this message reached you at the right moment, and subscribe so you stay aligned with the next chapter. Because what comes next will reshape everything you think you know about reality and about yourself.